right, here we go. Starting off, finally, the explications for Sonnets 51 through 60 of the Bloodless Blade. Now, let's be honest, if you clicked on a video that said 51 through 60 in the title, and you expected to know what was going on having not watched the previous ones, that's on you. So I'm not going to explain anything, and I'm just going to get straight into it. So, my lady, I have a gift for you to take, but first you need to get up out of bed. So Suhi's sort of just hiding in bed, and this is the gift that was given by... I was about to say her name, because she has a name later on, but no, this is the gift given by the handmaid's sister, the same one. And then my sister traveled so far for your sake, as I said. She asked if I could give this in her stead. And the princess poked her head out from her sheets. Everything's literal up to this point. There's nothing really to talk about. And saw the riding mask her handmaid held. It wraps beneath your ears, and then it meets. I put the "and" in little square brackets here because I was like, am I pronouncing ears as one syllable or two syllables? Which is it? So yeah, I don't know what I actually decided on when I typed it up, but you can go to the video of Sonnet 51 and you'll find out whatever it was I decided on. I think I wrote 75, number 75 today, so this was a while ago. This was a month ago that I wrote this now. Anyway, behind your neck, where ruin won't be spelled for all those curls you work so hard to keep. So all those curls you work so hard to keep would make more sense if you had seen the drawing I did of Suhid, which you haven't. Maybe I'll edit that into this video. Maybe I won't. I don't tend to actually edit these videos. I just upload them, and if there are audio issues or video issues, that's not my problem. Anyway. Behind your neck, where ruin won't be spelled for all those curls you work so hard to keep. Suhid has curly hair. I think that's pretty clear. The mask was deep magenta and displayed a tulip lovingly affixed in deep embroidered red, its stem turned like a braid. With shaking hands, young Suhid took the mask and set her mind upon a greater task. So, a tulip. Remember what I said previously, that within this world, yellow roses represent emotions that can kind of exist passively, whereas tulips represent emotions that kind of spur you on to action. And so this is sort of the merchant's way of saying, hey, it doesn't matter if you were scared in that moment when you had that outburst, because of that sort of betrothal thing that was sprung on you. You were right to take action in that moment, and you should not feel bad about that. That's basically what the merchant is saying with this gift, is that you were right to take action. It is okay. You don't have to feel bad about this, and you deserve to be allowed to take action on your own feelings. And then we get, in Sonnet 52, some dialogue from Suhid. Before you returned, I was out by the throne room. My brother's old friend thought he gathered no traction, but now, just like them, I will face down my own doom. So this is hearkening back, all the way back to, oh boy, a long way back. A long way back. Sonnet 10, I believe. Yes, Sonnet 10 over here. Before the night could fall, she'd start her ride, with youthful judgment flying by her side. We are back to where we were at Sonnet 10. Yes, but now, just like them, I will face down my own doom. Then we have a pause, and the flower of feelings that call us to action. So she's holding the mask, the riding mask that she was given. I'm sort of saying that this is a thing that they have in this world, that they have riding masks the same way we have cycling masks that basically keep bugs out of your face when you're cycling and like make the air cleaner and better to breathe. And surely those existed historically, right? Surely. I mean, I did look up riding mask and I found something very different to what I'm imagining. So I really should show the image of Suhi to show you what I mean by it. And I probably will. I probably will edit that in and I'll show the image what I actually mean. It's probably on screen at some point in this video. I probably already put it on screen. Who knows where it is? It's fine. But yeah, the fire of feelings that call us to action. A tulip embroidered on mask of magenta. So the tulip is, it's action. And I went with magenta as I decided that it's something that, like, in this world probably represents, like, platonic love in some way. So, like, this cannot be confused for any romantic gesture. Like, something that's magenta is explicitly non-romantic, is my idea here. The princess set the mask about her face. This war is a farce, and I'm right at the center. The princess dressed to ride at blinding pace. Our foe is a lord, so I'll cut down his station. The king over him is who's taking the power. It's time to convince. Actually, I should go back a bit. So the princess set the mask about her face. This war is a farce, and I'm right at the center. The princess dressed to ride at blinding pace. Or I think I changed that to, and then she dressed to ride at blinding pace. But what's happening here is Suhi is speaking in amphibrachtic tetrameter. So she is going against the system. The system speaks in iambic pentameter. And so it's desperately trying to claw back. The system is desperately trying to claw back its power over the narrative by forcing back the iambic pentameter. So yeah, our foe is a lord, so I'll cut down his station. The king over him is who's holding the power. It's time to convince him of centralization. Today is the day I'm refusing to cower. Basically saying, okay, this lord only has a fiefdom. He's not the biggest fish in his pond. There's a king who can make him stop, who can order him to do things. So I'm going to go appeal to that king. The people are waiting to hear from a hero. I'm not waiting with them. I'm going to be her. Pretty self-explanatory. She is not going to wait to take action here. She's not going to wait to see what happens. And she has been inspired by this tulip mask that she's been given. And we get to, my lady, are you sure you want to go? You'll have to cross that vicious lord's domain. There's no one who would blame you if you chose to let the army fight while you remain. So this is Suhi's handmaid saying, it's okay. You don't have to go. You don't have to do this. You're a kid. You're a 14-year-old kid. It's okay. But then Suhi responds with, I'll not stand aside while our people are trampled. This world is too full of those standing for nothing. If I choose to hide, I'll become an example of all I oppose, so it's not worth discussing. And of course, an example of all she opposes, she's been going around collecting people's complaints. She's been trying to be what she sees as someone worthy of the title of royal, someone who's worthy to be in government and within sort of public service. She sees royalty as this obligation. She is there to serve the people, and so she thinks that people who have power and don't use it to help other people, well, that's what she's against, and she doesn't want to become that. Now, the handmaid fixed a brooch on Suhit's cloak, a yellow rose to know when not to act. So again, we're getting the yellow rose, red tulip symbolism again. Red tulip, emotions that spur you to action. Yellow rose, emotions that can exist without action, that don't demand action. And so the handmaid here is basically saying, or is not basically saying, is quite literally saying, you need to have a balance. You need to know when to act, but you also need to know when not to. Because regardless of what my sister, the merchant, says, it was dangerous to speak out in that moment, in that hall full of people who were all that lord's cronies. So please be more careful next time. So we don't know who we're likely to provoke, so let's be sure to see this through with tact. Did you expect I'd let you go alone? I'll treat this goal of yours like it's my own. This is a responsible adult being responsible, the kind of thing you don't usually see when your protagonist is a child. Usually you see the adults being idiots in some way. Well, I refuse to do that. I demand that my child protagonists have a chaperone. Because, you know, I'm not going to do the Harry Potter or Percy Jackson thing of, hey, 12-year-old, go put yourself into a life-threatening situation with absolutely no assistance. No, we're not doing that here. Absolutely not. I refuse. We are going to have good role models in this text. Thank you very much. All right. The princess knew their flight could not be seen, so used the servants' passage to descend, where guards on duty could not intervene. Pretty clear. She's fairly certain that no one is going to let her just go, and so she's sneaking out. They reached the stables at the pathway's end and woke young Suhit's horses to prepare them for the coming ride across the land. Again, very just literal. No warning came before the blinding flare of candlelight held by a stable hand. I assumed that stable hand was one word. It's not. It's actually two words. So that's incorrect there. But it could be one word if we wanted it to be. There was no time for them to stow away. Two knaves in masks and hoods, two knaves in masks and hoods have come to thieve. That's the stable hand being like, you're stealing, hey. Within a blink, the guards will be arrayed. That's, in this case, that's the handmaid talking. My lady, mount your horse, it's time to leave. The pair were forced to leave their bags and ride. Into the night the kingdoms will divide. Of course, Suhi could have stood up and said, hey, I'm the princess. These are my horses. But of course, if they knew it was her, they're going to go to even greater lengths to stop her, aren't they? Because they don't want her to leave. So she intentionally doesn't identify herself. So a pack of guards assembled and gave chase across the grassy hill the castle topped. The slope was far too great at such a pace. Their horses' hooves would slip and they'd be dropped if they rode straight away from castle walls. Basically, they have to go around the castle to get to the road where they can actually ride away without, falling and dying. The guards pursuing did not think as far and tried to cut them off but tripped and sprawled. From high above, the picture was bizarre. The picture being that there's two women on horses riding away from a bunch of guards who tried to cut them off and then all fell over. The crown prince stood and watched the scene unfold, then knocked an arrow on his warbow's string. The princess left her chambers, he'd been told. He drew and aimed his arrow with a grin. So this line here, the princess left her chambers, he'd been told, is specifically to let you know that he knows who he is aiming at. He knows he's trying to kill his own sister right now, and he doesn't care. Because he just wants to start a war, which we'll find out much later. This was his goal the entire time. For one long breath, he reveled in his sport and screeched in anger when his shot fell short. He missed. He tried to kill his sister, though, so, we don't like him. They reached the road beside the gate and turned to take the well-paved road. Huh. Did I change that? I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Huh. They reached the road beside the gate and turned to take the well-paved road to get away. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Using road twice in 2 lines. Let's change that to well-paved path to get away. I know I've already recorded the sonnet for this, but I'll re-record it at some point. Ugh. No. Let's change that in the other one as well. Well-paved path. Control S. There we go. Did not like that. I'm going to leave that whole thing in as well. So yeah, to take the well-paved path to get away into the forest, that would have to burn to capture anyone who chose to stay among the old and densely woven trees. So yeah, the forest is a very dense forest. It's very dark and overgrown. Basically, it's not a place that you could easily just find someone in. If you go searching, you'll get lost pretty easily. The river will guide us until we have bearings, the princess said once they were clear and free. The miller's son told me once when he was sharing the journey they took to the town they now live in. You'll always find people by following water. So yeah, we're having a callback to when they followed the river. They didn't find anywhere to stay for a very long time. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. They're doing... it's just that, yeah, they've learned from what someone else did. Or Suyid has learned from what the miller and the miller's son did. My lady, I hope that I might be forgiven. I did not think highly of you as I ought to. Not that it takes genius to head for the river, but listening's a skill that makes most nobles quiver. So what you hear here is the handmaid has switched to amphibrachic tetrameter. So she is sort of joining Suhit's rejection of the system. She's just like, yeah, you reject the system, I reject it as well. I'm fully on your side now, is basically the symbolism of that. They quickly found a village down the stream. The mask must stay on and you must remain hooded. I don't understand why the people can't see me. We're not even out of the capital woods yet. So they're not out of the woods that are right next to the capital. The people can't see you because they'll figure out that you are in fact the princess, and then people will be able to follow you. That would not be great. The handmaid spoke for Suhit and herself when they approached a man who sat awake. It's quite the nasty hand that you've been dealt, but we have nothing you can freely take. The man being like, hey, we're a small village, we can't really just give you stuff. Can you offer a trade? My name is Ismoin, I'm a maid in the castle. My friend and I have no provisions to travel. If you could spare even the smallest of parcels, we've rumours that we'd be inclined to unravel. So she gets a name now. She gets a name, Ismoin. Stress on the second syllable, not the first syllable. But yes, her name is Ismoin. This is because she's gone against the system now. In the system, she is just her role of handmaid. But in this rejection of the system, she has an actual identity of her own, which is why she gets a name. And we'll see this going forward as people sort of join Suhit's rebellion in amphibrachic tetrameter, they get names. So yes, Ismoin has a name now. I'm a maid in the castle, blah, 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 blah. Her mask and her brooch were both gifts from the royals. The stories we bring are legitimate spoils. So she's saying, hey, we can trade you information for stuff. And look, we have this mask and this brooch. These are clearly very expensive things. So we must have come from the castle. Our information is accurate and legitimate. Yep. We're getting there. The crossing is close, we can make it by morning. Ismoin did not agree and shook her head. That bridge is not safe if they've sent out a warning. Most roads will be safe. But we've places we can't tread, where folk know your face or where guards keep a boundary, where royal-endorsed institutions are courted, the places a princess is normally found near. We need to be smart or our plan will be thwarted. Basically, I keep saying basically so much. It's not basically, it's literally. But anyway, it's almost certain that the crown prince or the king or someone else has gone and said, hey, we need to send out a watch and act alert, basically, for if you see the princess, tell someone so that we can bring her back safely. Even though that's not what the princess wants, but that's not what Suhit wants, but of course, they don't care. The crown prince wants to use her to start a war, and the king and queen just want her safe. Yes, yeah, we need to be smarter. Our plan will be that's off the camera. So how will we get past the rivers and borders? By fording and hiding and passing unnoticed. We can't go over it, we can't go under it, can't go around it, we'll have to go through it. Yeah, they're going on a bear hunt. That village we passed through won't say who awarded them with useful rumors, or else their remotest of chances to profit will slip through their fingers. We'll find places like it where tattlers don't linger. Essentially, the idea here is these small communities, they're not going to just tell anyone where they got their information from, because that information is going to be vital to their livelihoods, or to just improving their quality of life, at least for a little while. So those are the places that are most safe to go. Then they rode for near 2 weeks to reach the line between their kingdom and the foreign land, where they held hope they'd find a king inclined to make his vassal yield to his command. Because they don't know whether the king will actually be inclined to listen to them yet, but they're just hoping that he will be. This river's too deep and too fast to be forded. You're right, it's not like the ones inside the nation. I guess that's what makes it so potent a border. So this is like this border that the actual, this is the same river that the town is a bridge, like it's a massive bridge across a river. So this river is sort of more like the Congo, I guess, and less like, say, the Mississippi. It's like the Mississippi is this vast network of very easily navigable river, whereas the Congo is this horrible mess of a river that's really not navigable at all. There are geological reasons for that. You'll find quite often that closer to the equator, you'll find rivers that are less navigable, whereas further from the equator, you'll find rivers that are more navigable for reasons that I am not going to go into all of the geology of, but my sources trust me. Regardless. But yeah, this isn't a very navigable river, not like the other one, and it's a very deep river and it's a very fast river, basically. I mean, navigable rivers would be deep as well, but you get my point. It's different. It's more whooshy and less woo, woo, woo. Yeah, that's a great explanation. Anyway, I guess that's what makes it so potent a border. We'll have to find somewhere no guards have been stationed. It took 3 extra days to find a place to cross where there was no one on patrol. There was a crest emblazoned on the face of one small sign hung crooked on a pole. That crest is one owned by a neutral dominion. Our passage through this land will face no resistance. So a neutral dominion, so they're not actually going to have to pass through the Lord's domain. They're going to go around it. So they're not actually on a bear hunt. I lied like a liar. Anyway. And this, I believe, is Sonnet 60. So we've reached the end. Ismoin and Suhi crossed the neutral realm. Its lord was sworn to serve the selfsame king as he who'd build a force to overwhelm defenseless towns to ease rejection's sting. He who'd build a force, quite clearly saying that the Lord does not actually have enough of a standing army to go to war with the kingdom yet that has their centralized military. And that will be quite important later on for reasons that are associated with the Crown Prince. But we'll get there in like 30 sonnets time. Maybe not quite that long. I think it'll be in cycle 9 that we get to that point. Anyway, they traced the fiefdoms' borders leading deep into the kingdom toward the central land, where they would bring their reasons to the keep, where kings should stay their vassals' wayward hands. That's literal, nothing to add. As they drew close, the dirt roads turned to stone, and food and drink were plentiful and clean. So what's happening here is that this central area that's basically just royal lands has really quite good services because everything is centralized here, and they're not, first of all, being forced to pay the vassal lord, and then that vassal lord has to then pay a tithe to the king. It's just one tax directly that goes in and then goes out again into public services. So there's fewer layers, which means help can get to them more directly. If you study a little bit of political theory, you'll understand that a central autocracy is actually more democratic than feudalism. Like an autocratic tyrant is more democratic than a feudal society, which is sort of insane to think about. It feels like it would be the opposite, but it's not. Of course, neither of them are actually democratic in any meaningful way. But when you can bring your complaints directly to a central authority and hold a central authority accountable, you can have a more democratic system, and you have the foundation to be able to build a democratic society from there, because you have basically, you can point your finger at one thing that needs to change, and you can change that and get to a better system. So yeah, I could speak a lot more on that, but I won't right now because it's like 2:30 a.m. But yeah, as they drew close, the blah blah blah. The princess wondered if they would condone the system that afforded their routine if they knew how much worse their lives would be for just one step outside the royal see. So I'm kind of appropriating the term Holy See. The Holy See is actually technically the throne that the Pope sits on, and not, the country of Vatican City, but who cares? You know what I mean, right? I hope you know what I mean. But yeah, basically this is the central land that the king specifically exerts control over and has not apportioned out to a vassal. Has not gone and said, hey, you're a vassal now. Pay me taxes and do whatever you want. Of course, real-world feudalism, wherever it props up, is a lot more complicated than this, but this is sort of a fairy tale for children passed down, like in universe, this is sort of a fairy tale for children passed down through a family, so it's not meant to be overly complicated, and that's why everything is sort of intentionally reductive like this. And intentionally, because if you look at feudal France, for instance, there are a lot of disconnected patches that were still royal land that was sort of directly controlled by the royals or by the king. And the fiefdoms were quite large and apportioned out in that, but a lot of them were owned by the same families, so the same family would have a bunch of different lords, and then a lot of their fiefdoms would be connected to each other. It's all very messy and complicated. And then you get to the Holy Roman Empire, and oh boy, that is just border gore. let's not go there. But yes, this is a simplified representation of feudalism. I mean, even the term feudalism is often not useful in many cases if you look into the academia, into the history. I'm going to stop now. But yes, that's Sonnet 60. We got there. We did it. A bunch of rambling of me being very tired. And that was 30 minutes. Oh yeah. Yeah, thank you for watching. I will record 60 to 70, the explication of 60 to 70, when I am less tired and incoherent. Probably. Maybe. Anyway, thanks for watching.